Good evening, welcome. I'm really honored to present the first Scoop Jackson Award and nominate Congressman Michael T. McCaul. Is currently serving his 7th term representing Texas 10th Districts. For the past 5 years, he has served as chairman of the House Committee on Homeland Security, which oversees the Department of Homeland Security, working to ensure that DHS is carrying out its core mission of protecting the American people from terrorist attacks. In addition, he's a senior member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, giving him a unique vantage point from which he's able to help shape foreign policy in such a way that it reinforces and meshes well with the efforts to combat threats facing the homeland. Chairman McCaul has become widely respected for his leadership in combating the threat of international and domestic Islamic terrorism, airport and border security. As co-founder and co-chair of the Cybersecurity Caucus, he has also distinguished himself with forward-thinking leadership on cybersecurity. In 2008, Chairman McCaul co-chaired the Commission on Cybersecurity, which developed and presented recommendations to President Obama to secure cyberspace and protect our national interests. Prior to his election to Congress in 2004, Michael McCaul served as Chief of Counterterrorism and National Security in the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Western District of Texas, and led the Joint Terrorism Task Force charged with detecting, deterring, and preventing terrorist activity. But as Michael McCaul will tell you, most of anyone who will listen, his proudest achievement is that he's married to his wife, Linda, and his 5 children they are raising, Caroline, Jewel, and the triplets, Lauren, Michael, and Avery. Thankfully, even with this busy family life, Congressman McCaul has done a tremendous amount for the safety, security of both the United States and Israel, and has rightfully earned the Scoop Jackson Distinguished Service Award. Congratulations.
Thank you for that kind introduction. Yes, I have triplets. I have 5 teenagers. So when it comes to homeland security issues, I have some personal experience. I call it domestic terrorism. This award is such an honor. I've been such a supporter of Israel and the Jewish community, and this stands for national security. And those who've won this award in the past, I feel like I don't deserve to stand at this platform. I mean, Dick Cheney, Joe Lieberman, Bob Gates, people I know so well, Gene Kirkpatrick, John McCain. What a tremendous night this is for me. And while we often disagree on issues in Washington, I think we all believe the alliance between America and Israel must always remain unbreakable. Little local politics. I first got introduced to JINSA when I first ran for Congress by Skipper Dipple. Those you may know him. Served on the board for 25 years. Skipper always has the last word. But also Tom Newman, who I have tremendous respect for. and I learned so much from them, but I'm excited about what we can achieve in the future. Senator Scoop Jackson once said, if you believe in the cause of freedom, then proclaim it, live it, and protect it, for humanity's future depends on it. Today, JINSA echoes Senator Jackson's words by providing a voice on important national security issues, and we need to stay loud on these issues. We need to echo voices like Elliot Engel, who's a dear friend of mine here tonight, and Sander Goebbels. And we need their voices now more than ever, because we are at war with Islamist terrorists who wish to spread fear, kill innocent people, and destroy our way of life. And we just saw that recently in New York City. How many more times do we have to see this? I'd like to put this in historical perspective. In the archives, it is inscribed what is past as prologue. The year 1979 transformed the Middle East and changed the world. In that year, radical Islamists, their ideology rippled around the globe. The revolution in Iran brought the Ayatollah and his oppressive Shia theocracy to power. That same year, a dark veil of Sunni extremism fell over Saudi Arabia and other Arab countries. Also that year, the Soviets invaded Afghanistan, and the Mujahideen, under the leadership of Osama bin Laden, became a force to be reckoned with. It was as if time went backwards. 38 years later, and 16 years after 9/11, the threat landscape remains. Today, the Ayatollah is more powerful than ever. The Sunni extremists continue their reign of terror, and the Russians have returned to the region to control the ports in Syria and prop up its dictator, Bashar al-Assad. Fortunately, we saw the latest crushing blow to ISIS in Raqqa and in Mosul. After watching the so-called caliphate metastasize in Iraq and Syria over the life of my chairmanship, and after constant briefings on their external operations and threats to the homeland, we can finally see a defeat of ISIS in the region. But before we celebrate or claim victory, it's important to caution that radical Islamist terror is alive and well. All one needs to do is look to downtown New York. Just yesterday, a vicious terrorist attack killed 8 people. All one needs to know is look at Northern Africa and the recent events in Niger killing our soldiers. All one needs to do is look at Iran and its growing presence in the Middle East. All one needs to do is look how an ideology mastered the global bandwidth of the internet by recruiting, training, and radicalizing future militants to the radical Islamist cause. I recently traveled to Israel with Chairman Royce and Elliot Engel on the Foreign Affairs Committee. And there we had a candid discussion with Prime Minister Netanyahu about the greatest threat, as he saw it, to his country, the Shia crescent from Iran. Iran is filling the vacuum in Iraq and Syria. Though Hezbollah in Iran, Hezbollah in Lebanon is building rocket manufacturing plants. Those rockets are pointed directly at the state of Israel. The Prime Minister of Israel told us how he doesn't know if the Iron Dome can sustain that overload of rockets firing into his country. And through Hamas, It is digging tunnels and aiming rockets against the Iron Dome. And in Yemen, it is backing the Houthi rebels. The Prime Minister also briefed us on the relationship and opportunity that has arisen between Israel and Saudi Arabia. Once proclaimed enemies, now these two nations have a unique opportunity and a unique alliance. The enemy and my enemy is Iran. This threat exists not only against what Iran references to as little Satan, but also what it calls the great Satan, the United States of America. The threat of a nuclear Iran is real, and it must be stopped. In Congress, we passed legislation last week to sanction Iran's ballistic missile program as well as Hezbollah. And as the President announced, we will also sanction Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC. I'm proud to say that I've introduced legislation that's passed the Congress previously, including this year, to redesignate the IRGC as a foreign terrorist organization. Because that is what they are. We must also deal with the issue of terrorist financing. Qatar stands as a leader when it comes to funding Hamas, ISIS, extremists in Syria, Al-Qaeda, Taliban. Qatar also has a unique and disturbing relationship with Iran. It is time to hold them accountable. If Qatar is to remain an ally, it must renounce its terror affiliations. Finally, the Muslim Brotherhood. It continues to threaten Egypt and the region. I just met today with the Egyptian ambassador, with the leaders from Egypt, the Speaker of Egypt in his parliament. Out of the Muslim Brotherhood grew Al-Qaeda and ISIS and all the radical Islamist threats. President Morsi and the so-called Arab Spring liberated them out of the prisons. President al-Sisi is trying to restrain them, and we must support him. Muslim Brotherhood leader Yusuf al-Qaradawi proclaimed that Allah, you can't make this up, direct quote, I'm a historian by nature, history major, that Allah used Adolf Hitler to wreak the Holocaust upon the Jews as divine punishment and praised him for putting the Jews in their place. Winning this ideological struggle is also very personal to me. My father was a bombardier on a B-17 in World War II and was part of the D-Day air campaign. He bombed the Nazis. Recently, I visited Auschwitz to see firsthand the terror and systematic extermination that the Nazis perpetrated on the Jewish people. The horrors of the gas chambers and Dr. Mengele and his experiments. I have triplets. He relished in experiments on multiples. What my father and his generation were fighting against was pure evil. It is no surprise that radical Islamists were the allies of the Nazis. We must always remember and never forget. The evil we defeated in the past is now trying to take over once more. We cannot allow this to happen. Ronald Reagan told us that freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on for them to do the same, or one day we will spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it was once like in the United States where men were free. So let's go forward working together. I'm an eternal optimist. Our ideology prevails. We defeat radical Islamist extremism. Let's spread freedom, democracy, and peace, and rid the world of the face of evil once and for all. Thank you.